When billion-dollar healthcare fraud meets vaccine denial at the highest levels of power, democracy isn't just under attack, it's bleeding. This is the moment the masks fully come off.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Kennedy, for being here today. It's actually not our first time meeting. We met a very, very long time ago when I was 9 years old in Westchester Putnam County at a Riverkeeper event. And I remember back then you talking about the importance of science and environmental action at that time. Listening to a lot of your discussion and a lot of the messages that you provide to people, you talk a lot about corporate influence and corruption in government. And this is an area that's very important to me, and it's an area that I do a lot of work in. I am, as a public servant, completely financially divested of any conflicts of interest with any healthcare companies, any stocks, any lawsuits that I would financially benefit from. Are you?
Yes.
You're completely divested?
Yes.
You have no financial interest in any lawsuit, crypto, none of that?
No. Oh, okay. Crypto? I own Bitcoin.
Okay. And do you have any other securities or assets?
I don't. I mean, I had to go through this with the Office of Government Ethics, and I had a few interests that were very minor that I divested.
Okay, just checking. I'd always like to.
No, it's a good question.
I always like to know
what
the field is before I enter conversations. So thank you for that. In the healthcare space, something that we've both spoken to is that some of the worst actors are in the for-profit medical space. Are in for-profit health insurance, big pharma, et cetera. And one of the worst companies actually is UnitedHealth in this respect. UnitedHealth is the largest health insurance company in the country. They are the largest employer of doctors and own thousands of pharmacies, clinics, surgery centers, and home health agencies, as well as hospice providers. Secretary Kennedy, are you aware that President Trump's Department of Justice is reportedly investigating UnitedHealth for criminal insurance fraud in some of their for-profit health insurance plans, like Medicare Advantage?
I'm not aware of that investigation.
You are not aware that the Trump Department of Justice is investigating the largest insurance company in America that
I'm not aware of.
For fraud in Medicare Advantage?
No, I'm not aware of that.
That you have jurisdiction over?
It doesn't surprise me.
Okay. In your submitted testimony, you said HHS takes seriously our role as responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. Are you aware that for-profit insurance corporations like UnitedHealth have been found to be defrauding public dollars of more than $80 billion a year?
I'm not aware of that number, but I'm aware that there's
that?
Fraud across the for-profit sector.
Respectfully, Secretary Kennedy, if we're making decisions around waste, fraud, and abuse, this is the largest source of waste, fraud, and abuse of public dollars in the public insurance space.
Did you say $80 million?
$80 billion a year.
Did you say 80 million or 80 billion?
80 with a B. Billion.
With a B,
yeah. If that's the case, why did you nearly double the rate that taxpayer dollars give for-profit insurance companies like United next year, if you don't know those things?
Double the rate? How did I do that?
So your agency nearly doubled the taxpayer dollars that for-profit insurance corporations like United will be paid next year, meaning these companies, the largest of whom is under investigation, criminal investigation by the Trump administration, will be receiving an additional $25 billion from your agency.
How is that happening?
I would be happy to submit to the congressional record evidence of this. I will enter the CMS press release from April 7th of 2025 into the record, which states that Medicare Advantage corporations will now receive a 0.06% increase in payments next year under your jurisdiction, Mr. Secretary.
Well,
This is up from 2.2%.
I mean, we're raising.
Without
was
objection.
proposed from the Biden administration. You are doubling the rate that the Biden.
The gentlelady's
these
time has
criminally
expired.
investigated companies.
The gentlelady's
are
time has
receiving.
expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman.
Let's not mince words. Secretary Kennedy sat there clueless, complicit, or both. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez brought receipts, billions in fraud by UnitedHealth, criminal investigations dating back to the Trump DOJ, and a $25 billion windfall to the same for-profit leeches in 2025. Kennedy didn't just fail to respond, he didn't even know. This man oversees billions in taxpayer dollars, yet acts shocked when asked about basic facts. How do you claim to fight waste, then reward the worst offenders? This isn't incompetence, it's collusion with corporate greed under the banner of bipartisanship. Medicare Advantage isn't an advantage, it's a heist. And if you thought that was disgraceful, wait until Secretary Kennedy tries to gaslight a pediatrician on vaccine science after firing every expert who dared to disagree. Buckle up.
The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Washington State, Dr. Schreier, for 5 minutes of questioning.
Secretary Kennedy, on May 27th, you posted a 60-second video on your X account unilaterally changing vaccine recommendations without consulting the customary panel of experts. As a pediatrician, I find that extremely alarming. So I thought we would talk a little bit about some vaccine-preventable diseases. Secretary Kennedy, and these are yes or no questions, have you ever treated measles?
Do I what?
Have you ever treated measles?
No.
Well, I have. Let me tell you how miserable it is. These kids have high fevers, struggling to breathe, and they are crying, they suffer. Great news is that there is a vaccine to prevent it. Secretary Kennedy, again, a yes or no question. Have you ever treated bacterial meningitis?
No.
Well, I have. These babies are so sick. They come into the ER with high fevers, they are floppy, and we have to figure out why. Do you know how we figure out if a baby has meningitis?
Excuse me?
Do you know how we figure out if a baby has spinal meningitis?
How many babies?
I'm going to explain how we figure out and determine if a baby has meningitis.
Okay.
We insert a needle between vertebrae until the fluid that surrounds the spinal cord drips out into a test tube. It's called a spinal tap. We used to do lots of them. Fortunately, we don't have to do very many of these anymore because we have 3 vaccines that prevent childhood meningitis. These are miracles. Secretary Kennedy, yes or no, have you ever treated pertussis or whooping cough?
No, I've had it.
Well, I have. And in infants, in fact, the one I treated, weeks old, came in because the baby just stopped breathing and turned blue. Let me tell you how scared those parents were. And I've treated a bunch of older kids with it. They cough so hard, they vomit. They run out of air. They break ribs. And if you don't catch it before 2 weeks, antibiotics don't even work. They cough for months with broken ribs, and that is why it is called a 100-day cough. But you know what's great? There's a vaccine that prevents this. Of course, here's the thing. Vaccines only work if you actually give them. And we know your record on this. We rely on the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, a panel of experts to recommend which vaccines people should get at which ages and the like. Now, I know Senator Cassidy had concerns about your views on this, and so when he voted to confirm you as Secretary of HHS on February 4th, he explained that decision by saying on the Senate floor that, quote, if confirmed, you will maintain the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices without changes. But then 2 weeks ago, you fired all 17 experts on that very committee. Mr. Secretary, question for you. Did you lie to Senator Cassidy when you told him you would not change this panel of experts?
I never made that agreement.
So are you saying that Senator Cassidy lied when he was on the Senate floor, lied to the American people?
I didn't see that statement by Senator Cassidy. I've only heard it from you. But if he said that I agreed to it, it would be inaccurate. I made an agreement with him. I made an agreement with him, and he and I have talked many times about that agreement.
My time. I just want to tell you that for most of us sitting here right now, we believe Senator Cassidy more than we trust you when it comes to vaccinations. It sounds to me like you gave him the answer he needed to hear in order to get his confirmation vote, and then as soon as you were secretary, you turned around and did whatever you want. You fired all 17 members.
I'm complying with all the agreements that I made with
Secretary,
Senator Cassidy.
You're now on the record. You lied to Senator Cassidy. You have lied to the American people. You have lied to parents about vaccines for 20 years. And I also want to be clear that I will lay all responsibility for every death from a vaccine-preventable illness at your feet. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields.
This was a medical massacre in real time. Secretary Kennedy, a man with zero frontline experience treating diseases like measles, meningitis, or pertussis, had the audacity to override the CDC's expert panel, then tried to gaslight Congress when called out. Dr. Schreier, a real pediatrician, didn't hold back. She described with clinical clarity the agony, danger, and death that come when vaccines are undermined. And what did Kennedy do? He deflected, denied, and lied. He couldn't even own up to a promise he made to Senator Cassidy. This isn't just unethical, it's deadly. By firing all 17 members of the immunization panel, Kennedy didn't just break trust. He waged war on science itself. Every vaccine-preventable death that follows is on his hands. This is how authoritarianism creeps in, not with force, but with deceit, denial, and dismantling truth one agency at a time. Secretary Kennedy is not fit to lead, not morally, not intellectually, not administratively. In Part 1, he failed to account for $80 billion in fraud perpetrated by private insurance giants like UnitedHealth, companies that continue to thrive under HHS while siphoning taxpayer money meant for actual care. Instead of stopping the grift, Kennedy oversaw an increase in their profits without even knowing the numbers. Willful ignorance is complicity. Then, in Part 2, we saw something worse than corruption. We saw gaslighting. A man with no clinical experience in pediatric medicine rewrote national vaccine policy in a 60-second social media stunt, fired every independent expert in the way, and lied about it under oath. When cornered, he couldn't answer, not because he forgot, but because he knew the truth would damn him. This is how democracies falter, when science becomes optional, when facts are partisan, and when public health is hijacked by political vanity. We are past debate. We are in a crisis, and it's time to choose truth or propaganda, accountability or chaos, life or death. Subscribe to Malcolm Varon Hearing, because we don't negotiate with liars, we expose them. Like, comment, and share before public health becomes the next casualty of political cowardice.